final presenter for the day is Rob Orr, and I think once again he's going to head us off in a very different direction.
I'm trying to be as curmudgeonly as Dick Moore. I've got a way to go. While he's setting up, everybody stand up. Come on, it's the end of the day. Stand up. I want you. I'm not kidding. Come on. So thank you all. I'm also really excited about this particular. I think this is a cool format. I like what's happening. I think there'll be more than pure brainstorming stuff. You're not full enough.
Tomorrow will definitely be there.
That's cool. I'm not an architect. I'm not even a building engineer.
But you play one on TV.
I play one on TV.
That holiday last night, right?
So, a couple themes we're going to have here. First off, conservation is good. Now, I want to be very clear on something. Everyone talks about sustainability, and if you listen carefully, they talk about saving energy or using less materials. I want to be very clear on something. Conservation is not sustainability. Conservation buys you some time. But don't confuse those two. And I'm not pretending to do sustainability. I'm talking about conservation. Okay? So that's a bit of terminology. Lord Kelvin says, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. It's true. I also am painfully aware that there's a lot of information out there that just is not accessible in ways that we can use. As I mentioned in the little introduction thing, I'm starting a company. That's the basis of the company. The information is out there. Gather it, mine it, sell it as many times in as many ways as you can. But now I'll explain the specific application of it. I've been talking to a restaurant chain about how they might save some energy. We can call it sustainability, we can call it conservation, but they just want to save money. That's what it comes down to. Typical fast food restaurant will spend $5,000 per month on utility costs. And in general, they don't know where it goes. This is the electric bill for a restaurant in Illinois. And it kind of follows, so the red lines are what I got just from their monthly utility bills. The green line is the average of all the restaurants that I had information on. And very predictably, it peaks every August. Has the seasonal variations that you expect. This particular restaurant is bigger than the other ones. It consumes more than the other ones. It's ranked 55 out of 64 in electric consumption. No big deal. Nothing surprising here. There should not be anything surprising here. But if you take that same data and you look at the Chicago zip code 60305 and you get historical weather data, you can start saying, okay, how does the system do when it gets hotter and colder? What's the average energy consumption versus temperature? So you get this nice scatter plot. These, by the way, are very spread out horizontally because I only had monthly data, and the temperature changes a lot within a month, so it tends to be spread out. So don't get too tweaked about that, because it really is a good correlation. This is a nice line. Now this thing tells you a couple of interesting things. It's really great. First off, this is the base load of that building. You know how much energy the store consumes just being a store, independent of HVAC. Right? Because when it's cold, they're not doing any air conditioning. So this is how much they use doing cooking and washing and all that stuff. As the weather gets warmer, just as you expect, the consumption goes up. On hot days, you use more electricity. So the slope of this tells you another good thing, which is how well is the building insulated, or how efficient is the air conditioning system. Yeah.
So you're not taking into effect heating?
They gave me the gas bills for the southern states. They gave me the electric bills for the northern states. Sorry, I don't have the gas bills for this guy. I wish I did.
Okay.
And I wish I had the daily data instead of monthly. But you asked exactly the right question, because there's another line that goes like that too. And I've seen it. I mean, I've gotten every one of my friends who are willing to give me their utility bills for the last 2 years, I've been doing this stuff on. And you can see that it's a very good correlation for getting cold. So the slope of the line here is how efficient, like how sensitive is the building to increased heat, is the right way to say it. And you want a low sensitivity building, right? For the high sensitivity one, you start paying a lot as it gets hotter. There's a third variable which caught me totally by surprise, which is where is this breakpoint? I originally did my analysis using standard thermal degree days above 65 degrees. No fit at all. So I just made that another optimization parameter. And in almost all the stores, we're seeing this breakpoint is down around 35 to 40 degrees. This one actually happens to be 30 degrees. It means as the temperature gets above 30 degrees, there is air conditioning going on. This is totally unexpected. They didn't expect it. They don't know what's going on. They're calling us in for a general energy audit to find out what's going on with their stores. I have all sorts of hypotheses. But the point is, this is data they had. This is why I was grilling you about, did you go back and actually do analysis? And we think that there's an immense amount in the system in the United States going into this kind of waste. This is a picture I don't know if any of you have ever seen before. Yeah? At least one nod, two nods. This is the roadmap of energy use in the U.S. There's a wonderful website at the Department of Energy called EMEUAER. Basically, we consume 100 quads annually. The nice thing about it is 101 quads. The nice thing is then all becomes percentages. 21% residential, 18% commercial, 32% industrial, and 30% transportation. So we are going to focus on residential and commercial. We think that people are going to do a good job in making cars that are more efficient and all that kind of stuff. But we also think there's a lot of waste in residential. So we believe that by bringing in behavioral and physical changes to buildings, right, that we can actually, without much effort, everyone I talk to says 5% is not ambitious enough, but we think we can reduce energy usage by 5%. A lot of people say it's going to be more like 25%. I think it's going to be 25% for the big losers and closer to 0% for places that are already efficient. So I'm just saying, what if we could, as an initiative, and this is a big group, this is not my business plan. This is something I think that we should, as a smart thinking group, ought to be thinking about. How do you reduce energy consumption nationwide in commercial and residential spaces by 5%? And that would be 2 quad BTUs right off the top. It's actually more than that, because if you go back to the, it's not here, sorry, generated electricity versus consumed electricity, about 60% wasted. So any savings you make in electric here turns into a larger savings in produced. Right?
Because of line loss.
Because of line loss. Line loss is about 60% nationally.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Say?
That's line loss.
Line loss, yeah. From generation to consumption.
It's about 7% total.
Yes.
Difference between generated and metered.
Right.
Well,
No, I'm saying
60% is from the source fuel raw material to use.
That's right.
It's not in the distribution network as a part of the 60%.
That's right. Yeah, if you go from BTUs consumed to make the electricity to BTUs consumed at the house, it's more like 60% loss.
Yeah, oh yes.
Okay. So, axiom for this is also that's cute.
You have to sing that one.
Right. So I want to make the point that
Not gonna happen.
I don't know what fun it is. Right. Well, that's kind of it. The other theme here is that humans do behave rationally within their own framework. I believe that saving energy for the sake of saving energy is not a long-term strategy that's going to work. But people will do things for whatever reason. Dick, you just missed the cool graphs. It's okay. So anyway, so the point is, you have to create ways for people to get excited about doing what they're doing. You actually have to give them enough information so they can do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a very, very modest proposal here, which is that I think part of every utility bill that everyone gets every month, you should get a little report card. And it just says, here's how you do relative to the other houses or buildings or whatever in your area. And it has URL on the bottom, so once you start going to daily metering as opposed to monthly metering, you can go there and get this on a daily basis. But this would not be hard to do. It's just that at this point, there's no reason for any one party to do it. And it would be very interesting to go to the DOE, to go to EPRI, to go to whoever the interested parties are, and see if we could scare together a project to do this.
It might be a useful thing, just an idea.
Yeah.
In a market that's deregulated.
Yes. Which is only Texas right now, and
Well, for example, in Georgia, not for electricity, but in Georgia,
Yeah.
there are several different gas providers,
Right.
and they're having the devil of a time trying to
So
distinguish themselves.
There's
from
a
their
business
competitors.
model here, right? Which is we can. My goal, by the way, my megalomaniac goal in the world is to gather all of the physical world information from whatever sources, for whatever reason, package it up and sell it as actionable services, right? So for Georgia Gas Company, whatever, we would get all the gas meter data from their customers. We would slice and dice along these lines. We'd white label it as a website for their company. So they actually then have a daily interaction with their customers, which they don't currently have. And we can help them with customer retention.
Yep.
And that's why they'd want to work with us.
Makes sense.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Questions? Any questions, thoughts on
I've
that?
silenced the crowd.
That's us. Was that a hypothetical us or?
Yeah.
an actual us?
Which
Are we all
which us?
stakeholders now?
Yes.
All right.
Well, one of the things, and I've been looking at the idea of just having a check engine light on a building.
Right.
Because, the bottom line is that it's getting more and more complex, and there's more things integrated and all that, and in a lot of cases, it's not designing as performed, or performing as designed, excuse me. And so, you need to have some kind of feedback that says, hey, we screwed up something.
Right. I've got a friend who had a company called GridLogix that got bought by Johnson Controls. He's happily retired right now. But they found that, I think his wording was not far from the truth, which was the building is never performing the way that the building managers think it is. And, never for a very general sense of the word never.
Have you ever run across a company called Nth Energy?
No.
Okay, we need to connect on that too,
I'd like to.
because there's I ran across this group called the Schools Interoperability Framework, which is totally outside of our AEC world, but it just happened to be that their interest is they have a new program called No School Facility Left Behind. I don't make these things up. You got to know that.
Yeah.
But that's what they're looking at from schools. All these school districts, and they've got like 2,200 school districts that they're working with, and they're finding that that all the energy that's being wasted on these facilities could be going towards education.
Right.
And so they've got this big initiative, and we're trying to look at tying into that. But they've been looking at this Nth Energy, and
Sure.
Nth Energy gives you real-time feedback to the of the utility bills.
That's what you need. But the utility has to be set up to have that.
Yeah.
Or you have to put in your own telemetry.
Well, I'm just wondering if you could go about this the other way. I mean, you talk about these businesses that are in buildings that it's kind of out of their control, and so now they're trying to trim costs by behavioral measures.
Right.
I'm wondering if you could approach it from the opposite direction, say franchises or large corporations looking to place offices or restaurants or whatever in buildings, and they could shop around based on the building's parameters, which would then put a top-down pressure on.
Right.
It would change the market basically for rentals and building construction by handing the consumer a tool that they could use to shop.
I think you're asking exactly the right question, which is that there's a lot of situations now where there's just not alignment of interest, where I'm a tenant and I'm going to pay fixed rent no matter how much or how little energy I use, and my landlord is going to charge me a fixed amount. So I have no incentive to try to do anything to cut down the usage. And the landlord doesn't care, he's making his money anyway.
We did that with Andover Controls a while back in Europe, of all places.
What happened?
We said that since with management, a lot of us agree that with 40% good management, you cut down your energy use.
Yep.
Now, it turns out we would guarantee a 20% reduction through the landlord or anything else. We didn't get one taker. Now, independent of whether we were annoyed and shocked and pissed off.
Sure.
But we didn't get one taker on a guaranteed escrow account, the whole bit, right? Nobody bought.
Yep.
Well, I think what you just described, though, Nick, aren't they implementing something like that in the UK right now?
The energy performance certificate?
Well, there's supposed to be these stiff new rules about, you can't rent or sell buildings without proving some of these kinds of parameters.
Right, their goal is to take a diagram like that, and every time a building changes hands, changes ownership, so it has to go through a performance analysis, and it will be rated for its design performance and its asset performance.
So,
it's
You
operational.
mean like an air conditioner, like you buy an air conditioner with a number on it?
Yeah, it's like an
So an Energy Star.
Yeah, star rating on a building.
Right. So my background, by the way, is sensor networks. And the fact of the matter is, the cost of getting data from the physical world, from getting from a thermostat in this room back to some data server at Amazon, is almost nothing.
Right.
Now, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile are pricing more over data plans for cellular, data modems. You buy a shuttle Linux box for under $200 to sit in the corner in the closet to aggregate your data. That's not where the problem is. I think, as you pointed out, it's all about: is there a management structure? Is there a financial structure in place to actually make it worthwhile for someone to do? And that's really the place to be looking for business. You're saying it's just like.
Well, one of the things that one of the more cynics in my interviews for this particular course said that our reach exceeds our grasp.
I like it.
And we got so much data and so much opinion, and that plot won't sell to the real estate agent.
No, it's true, but I can sell this to the restaurant owner.
Yeah, they're generating heat.
Possibly. I've got to tell you a story. We did some fast food cash registers.
Yeah.
And the real invention there was putting a picture of the hamburger, not putting numbers on the keyboard.
I like it.
So what happens?
Oh, I know what you're
That was
doing.
a big invention.
The average tenure of a fast food employee is 4 months, and 2 weeks of that is spent training,
Yeah.
and they have a huge problem.
That's why we put the pictures on the buttons instead of the numbers.
And one of the things I'd share with you, Rob, is that break point is what we call the balance point of the building.
Thank you.
The point at which the temperature is sufficient to cause air conditioning to come on or heating to come on. And again, that's one of those. That's one of those metrics.
MIT guy, you know.
Yeah.
We don't have that metric in design.
Right.
And we could have that metric.
Right.
We would have enough analysis information that we could have that metric, and then the challenge is to adjust the balance point through the materials.
Sure.
And then more importantly, and what you really hit on, is through the use of
Well, in
the
this
building.
case, you know what it is? You turn on your vent hoods and you leave them on high when the kitchen is too hot. You don't turn on the air conditioning. That's the better solution.
That's a strategy.
Right. So anyway, this is great.
All right.
Cool.
If we're running 10 minutes behind, then maybe parataxis should be beginning in about 3 minutes.
And I'm on
If
stage for
it
that, so I have to go.
Can somebody explain to me what that is?
You will have to see it
To
with
believe it.
your own two eyes.
All right.
But some people have said it's the best thing in the whole show.
Some people